Liese Dodd thought it was just another day, a fresh start. But behind closed doors, danger was closing in faster than she could see.
When Liese stopped answering calls, her family feared the worst. What they found inside would shock even the most seasoned investigators.
This is the story of Liese Dodd, a case too disturbing to make it to Netflix. Let's dive into what really happened.
Before we jump in, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications bell. You're watching the crime chapter, and trust me, the case you're about to hear will stay with you long after the video ends. She was 22, 8 months pregnant, and planning a baby shower. But in just a few hours, she would become the center of one of the most shocking crimes to ever hit Illinois. This is the story of Liese Dodd and the man prosecutors call a monster in plain sight, Deundrea Holloway. And listen, if you think you know how dark a domestic violence case can get, this one will push you past that line. Because it wasn't just a murder. It was brutal, cold, and so evil that even seasoned homicide detectives said they'd never seen anything like this. But before the horror, there was Liese. Bright-eyed, soft-spoken, loved animals, loved her family. She just moved into a new apartment in Alton, trying to build a peaceful life for her and her unborn daughter, a baby girl she lovingly called Baby Bean. Her texts to her mom were full of excitement. New crib, baby clothes, ultrasound pics, all the things a young mom dreams about. But what her family didn't know was that something else was happening too, something darker. Her relationship with her ex-boyfriend, Deundrea Holloway, wasn't just rocky, it was off and on chaos, full of red flags, arguments, disappearances, and moments that her friends later described as straight-up scary. And on June 9th, 2022, that chaos turned deadly. But let's rewind the clock. Because murders don't come out of nowhere. There are patterns, there are signs, and there are moments where everything could have changed, but didn't. That week, Liese had been preparing for a baby shower. She'd been texting friends about decorations, planning snacks, laughing about baby names. There was no hint she was in danger. But behind the scenes, people close to her said Holloway had been popping back up, reaching out, calling, showing up unannounced. That's the part domestic violence experts always warn about. When you leave, that's when they become the most dangerous. And Liese was moving on. She was choosing peace. She was choosing motherhood. She was choosing a life without him. For someone like Holloway, that was enough to set off a deadly obsession. On the night of June 8th, going into the early hours of June 9th, Liese went silent. No replies. No calls. No messages. Just nothing. Her mom, Heidi, felt that gut punch, the kind only a parent understands. Something wasn't right. By the next morning, she drove straight to the apartment. She expected to hear her daughter's voice. Instead, she walked into a scene so gruesome, so unimaginable, that even veteran reporters needed weeks to process it. Liese wasn't just murdered. She was decapitated. Her head was found in a dumpster. And the only suspect? Her ex, Deundrea Holloway. But the question the whole country would ask was simple. Why did he do it? What happened inside that apartment? And how does someone reach that level of brutality? You're about to find out. Before we dive in, if you're into dark true crime stories told in a cinematic, no-fluff way, hit that subscribe button right now. It helps the channel grow. And trust me, you don't want to miss the next episode. All right, let's get back into it. The weeks leading up to June 2022 weren't just stressful for 22-year-old Liese Dodd. They were terrifying. She had finally broken off a relationship with Deundrea Holloway, a breakup that wasn't just messy, it was explosive. Friends said he was possessive, controlling, the kind of guy who shows up uninvited and calls 100 times when you don't pick up. You know the type. Everybody's met one, but Liese was living with one. And here's where the story takes a sharp, dark turn. Liese wasn't just done with him. She was moving on, making plans, getting her life back together. She was even preparing for something big, something life-changing. But Holloway? Yeah, he wasn't letting go. In early June, Liese's mom started feeling uneasy. Something was off. Liese wasn't answering calls, texts, nothing. At first you think, she's probably busy. But the silence stretched longer and longer. Every hour felt like a warning bell getting louder. By June 9th, that uneasy feeling turned into a full-blown panic. Her mom drove to Liese's apartment in Alton, Illinois, heart pounding, with one thought looping in her head. Please let her be okay. But the moment she stepped inside, that hope shattered. The apartment was silent. Too silent. Not a sound. Not a breath. Nothing but the kind of quiet that hits you in the chest like a brick. Her mother found her, and what she found is something no parent should ever have to witness. It wasn't natural. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't something you could rationalize or pray away. It was violence. Brutal. Personal. Targeted. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was rage. Pure, calculated rage. Detectives were on scene fast, and it didn't take long before a name surfaced. Deundrea Holloway. People close to Liese told investigators about the breakup, the controlling behavior, the threats, the arguments. Holloway's name wasn't a surprise. It was an expectation. But what was a surprise? How fast he vanished. Gone. Like he evaporated into thin air. But trust me, when a crime is this violent, this personal, and the suspect is this close to the victim, police don't lose you for long. And hidden inside the chaos of that early investigation was one detail, one piece of evidence so disturbing, so rage-filled, so unbelievably cruel, that officers at the scene said it was one of the worst cases they had ever witnessed. And we're about to get into it. The crime scene inside Liese Dodd's apartment didn't just tell a story. It screamed one. Detectives walked into something straight out of a nightmare, something that veteran officers said they'd never forget. This wasn't a simple assault. This wasn't a lost control in the moment type situation. This was deliberate brutality. The room showed signs of a struggle. Items knocked over, broken frames, a chair out of place. But what instantly froze investigators was Liese herself. The level of violence used against her was beyond anything they expected to find. And here's the chilling part. The brutality didn't end with murder. Holloway didn't just kill her. He mutilated her. The medical examiner later confirmed what officers already knew. This wasn't spontaneous rage. This was hate. This was vengeance. This was someone trying to erase a person they couldn't control. And when police traced the timeline back, everything pointed to Holloway. But here's the twist. He didn't run far. Within 24 hours, Holloway turned up in a different town, just sitting there like nothing happened. When local officers spotted him acting suspicious. When they approached him, he didn't confess, didn't panic. Instead, he said, "I should be arrested." Just like that. Cold. Emotionless. No remorse. And when officers asked him what for, he gave them a look, calm, almost proud, and said words so cold, so brutal, officers later said it haunted them. He admitted to being involved in Liese's death. Not a full confession, but enough to lock him in. This guy wasn't confused. He wasn't scared of getting caught. He was angry he'd lost control over her, and angry enough to commit one of the most horrifying acts of domestic violence the area had ever seen. Meanwhile, back in Alton, Liese's family was living inside a real-life horror movie. She wasn't just their daughter. She was sweet, fun, goofy, the type of girl who laughed with her whole face. She loved animals so much her family later set up a GoFundMe, where all donations were sent to domestic abuse programs and animal shelters, two things closest to her heart. Her family wasn't looking for revenge. They were looking for justice. And they were about to get it. Because when Holloway faced investigators, prosecutors, and the judge, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a crime of passion. This was a calculated execution of someone who wanted to be free. And the trial? Yeah, buckle up. Because the courtroom scenes in this case are some of the most chilling, jaw-dropping moments you'll ever hear. The courtroom in Madison County was packed. People showed up early just to get a seat. Reporters lined the back wall. Even seasoned deputies whispered, This one's gonna hit different. Because everyone in that room knew what Deundrea Holloway did. But hearing it, seeing the evidence laid out piece by piece, that was a whole other level. The prosecutor didn't hold back. He walked the jury through the brutality, the timeline, the motive, that twisted need for control Holloway had over Liese. And then he showed them the photos, the medical reports, the truth of what really happened in that apartment. Jurors weren't just disturbed. They were furious. One juror later said, "It wasn't just violence. It was evil." Holloway sat there stone-faced, like he was disconnected from the entire world. No tears, no regret, no flinch. Just this cold, blank stare that sent chills through the whole courtroom. And then, Liese's mom walked in to give her statement. If you want to talk about strength, if you want to talk about courage, this woman stood in front of the man who stole her daughter and didn't shake once. She talked about Liese's laugh, her dreams, her baby on the way. Yeah, if you didn't know, Liese Dodd was pregnant when she died. 8 months. That means 2 lives were taken. 2. The room went silent. You could hear people sniffing, wiping their faces. Even deputies had tears in their eyes. This wasn't just a murder. This was a family wiped to its knees. When the verdict finally came down, it hit like a hammer. Guilty. On all counts. Murder. Fetal homicide. Mutilation. Everything. And when sentencing day arrived, the judge didn't hold back. She called the crime pure cruelty. She called Holloway a danger to society. Then she locked him away with a sentence so heavy he'll never see freedom again. Justice walked into that courtroom, slow, painful, but undeniable. But here's the thing. Justice doesn't fix the hole Liese's family lives with. It doesn't bring back the baby that never got a chance at life. It doesn't erase the trauma her loved ones carry. What it does do is make sure no other woman has to fear this man again. And Liese's family turned their grief into impact. They launched a GoFundMe, every dollar going toward domestic abuse shelters and animal rescues. They made sure Liese's legacy was about protection, not pain. About love, not horror. Her story became more than tragedy. It became a warning, a reminder to protect victims, listen to their fears, and take domestic violence seriously. If you found this breakdown powerful, important, or eye-opening, backhand index pointing right, make sure you hit subscribe. More cases, more truth, more justice told the right way.